Right now, I have a Saturday off for the first time in months, so that's really cool. So we're going to use it to work on Christmas presents. My I have a very good idea. Ooh, except for the lighting is awful right there. Well, let's move this thing. You know, who needs who needs a tripod when you could just put your selfie stick in a vise? That, my dear friends, is quality control. Okay, ignore all of the scrap fabric just hanging out right there. Woo! Indeed, Captain Xavier, pants. On this most blessed of Saturdays? Sorry, weird. Okay. Okay. Phone is in a vise. Ooh, vice is at a precarious angle. Do not let vice. Oh, attack. Face. Okay. 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 We're good. So, we are going to make pajama pants today. No, it's not bolted. It's just hanging out. The vice is a temporary thing. It's hanging out because I don't remember why actually. I think it's got a tiny anvil on it. That's what it is. It's got an anvil on it, so I was using that to put in grommets or eyelets. Grommets, I think. Don't monocle of judgment me, Captain Xavier. How dare you? Have you ever actually explained that to people, by the way? That's... Anyway. So, as is my tradition, we're making pajama pants for Christmas. I've got mine made. I tried to make a video about them, but then I realized the fabric that I chose, because it's comfy and lovely, you can't see what's going on at all. Like, there's a pocket there. Could you see that? No. It's basically very pretty camo. Because it's in grayscale and it's roses and you can't see a darn thing. So, whoops. I'm going for flannel this year because it's lovely. And my one Black Friday shopping experience was actually successful this year. Oh, excellent. Which Christmas pajama pants? You have a couple of different pairs from me. Are they the monkey pants? Or are they the Star Wars pants? Or the Lannister pants? You have 3 pairs, actually. Star Wars. Okay. Nice. Do you ever wear the Lannister pants? Star Wars? Was that Star Wars? I didn't even see it. Star Wars. Anyway, okay. So, anyway, so I made these guys the other day. As per usual, I never end up hemming my own pants. It's so silly. But, yeah. So, I'm conducting an experiment with this pattern, which so far is my favorite pattern, and now I've gone there because I set the vise on it. My favorite pattern, right there, for pajama pants, since 2014. I have been using that pattern, so that's my favorite. It's just the most comfy and the easiest pattern. It's got little patch pockets on the butt and nice little integrated pockets in the front. I have one leg done. The experiment is figuring out just how wide the leg needs to be, because Stephen once didn't like how much mine tapered. It was the right size, but he didn't like how much it tapered down to the bottom. So I made wide leg pajama pants, but now they're massive, and now he thinks they're too big. This is what happens when you make clothing for other people. Wow. Anyway. So yeah, the fabric he's getting are little foxes. There's just no pleasing some people. Yes, it's true. It's true. I had him try them on. He's like, these are so weird. I'm like, I told you they'd be freaking boat leg pants. That's what you requested. But whatever. Yeah. Also, I have fruit flies, and I don't know why. They're driving me crazy. Zoe, you're a bad hunter. We're being stared at by the vicious puma. Come here. Come here. Come here. You want to be involved? Ah! Murder! Murder! Aha! I got one. Little booger. So annoying. So annoying. Hi. Because when we buy fruit, it stays in the fridge. So I don't know where the fruit flies are coming from. And what they're living off of. Other than perhaps the rosemary and the one other little houseplant we have. Also, this chair clicks and I don't know why. Oh, you know what? We're gonna go over to the kitchen. Because I want to show off the massive pile of presents we have wrapped. That's just for everyone in general, because we're crazy. So that's a thing between Steven and I, and this is for all the family members. And this is the cutest wrapping paper I have ever seen. This is for my friend Kieran, because corgis are amazing. Also, Kieran has a corgi. Her name is Piper, and she's the cutest thing. Good lord. Yeah, it is Swag Mountain. I got Christmas poppers, which, I bought these specific ones, Christmas crackers. I got them because they were the only ones not covered in sparkles, because ain't nobody got time for that craft herpes. Just get everywhere. Anyway, so that's Swag Mountain. Oh, my decorations. I talked about them, but I don't think I ever showed them in my previous video. Especially since, I think I talked about this in my last upload last week. Having technical difficulties where the whole middle of my video got chopped out, and I don't know why. But, this was made with the help of Michael's for the garland, and then most of those ornaments are from the dollar store, and they're actually really stinking cute, and they're canvas, and they look high quality. I don't know. Honestly, they have the same sort of suppliers as craft stores. It's still, you know, instant consumerism. So, they aren't paying their workers anyway, but might as well not give the companies that are not manufacturing, that are selling them, retailing them, they might as well not get 800% profit. That's the exaggeration. It's like 200%. Which shouldn't be mathematically possible, but it is. Coffee. I'm trying to keep this stream on track with some coffee, because I should have gotten it. I started it before the stream, before I went over to my sewing area. But surprise, surprise, I got distracted. So, congratulations, Captain Xavier, on your super cool hat. And, yeah, that's really exciting. I love that you get hats. That's super cute. Hi, Scott. How's it going? We're making coffee. And that's about it. We're making coffee because there will be pants soon, but first coffee. Yeah. I should have been up much earlier, but I got up at 11 because I have a day off, so might as well be off. So I'm not my usual chippy self. Oh, okay. This part of the counter is a mess because I'm a monster. However, look. Okay, I have way too many canisters for coffee. But look at my new Christmas coffee canister. He's a penguin and he's very cute. He's very cute. Also, my mug, complete with top hat, because he's fantastic. Yeah, that coffee filter holder is nice. Yeah. I think that's sufficient coffee. Now I have to murder it with all of the sugar and cream in all of the land. My oven just buzzed at me. I don't think ovens should buzz. In fact, the stove is on. I wonder how long that has been the case, since I just got up a little bit ago. That's not good. It's not good. But it was on low, so that is good. Nothing was burning. Nothing caught on fire. And that's the goal, really. Breathe in and out every day. Don't catch anything on fire. That's the goal. Right. So now we go over and find the milk. By the way, how cool is my spice rack? It's backwards, but it's really cool. We found it. I guess I could turn it around. So, this is another thrift store find. It actually has useful information on it. And then, not only is it a spice rack, but it has even more cool information on it. I don't know. I'm a nerd. I like these things. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Hi, kitty. Second I open the fridge. There she is. Ugh, what's happening with my hair? Stop it. Oh my god. How did we go through so much milk? Bought a new canister. Wow, carton 2 days ago. And it's like a quarter of the way full. I made waffles. That's how I went through so much milk. Never mind. And brownies. There are brownies. Okay, we're gonna have a little bit of brownie for breakfast. Don't tell anybody. pancakes. Traitor. The question is, how do you eat said pancakes / waffles? I have been informed that I'm a freak because I put peanut butter and maple syrup on my waffles and pancakes. And French toast. All of the above. Get maple syrup and peanut butter. And if I'm really feeling decadent... Oh, that's weird. Okay, so Stephen rearranged that whole wall of bookshelves that is the container of things. And he moved his cool glassware, including his absinthe fountain and stuff, to that right there, and he put a mirror behind it, and it looks really weird. Put a slab of butter between thin pancakes and stack it 5 high with syrup. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Oh. If you're really feeling decadent, peanut butter, then maple syrup, and then fresh homemade whipped cream. It's to die for. Though I'm a little bit obsessed with peanut butter anyway, so. And who can go wrong with homemade whipped cream? I'm a bit of a dairy fiend. I have so many, like, stacks of things. Okay, it's going back in the vise. Ooh. Ooh. A little lower. Get in the vise. Needs to go even lower, apparently. How did I do this so well last time and now it's just freaking out? Okay, that's better. Okay. Back to the whole point of this stream. God, my background's a mess. Good Lord. Everything's a mess. I just have a stack of projects and clothing and stuff. Back to the task at hand. So, I have this lovely fox fabric that, oh, I didn't even finish what I was saying earlier. So, part of the reason why we're doing flannel this time rather than fleece, is that we went shopping on Black Friday, and Joann's had 70% off of all their snuggle flannels. So yeah, that was a steal. Especially because this is only like $6.99 a yard. Not incredibly expensive to begin with. It's a thing. Anyway. So, if any of you are just now joining us, how many yards did we obtain? 3 yards for each pair of pants. So we did 3 yards of this gray floral because this was my favorite that we found thus far. roses. It's really pretty. And then 3 yards of, hi, you scared the crap out of me. Okay, 3 yards of the gray blue foxes. An entire bolt of this like light gray with black printing similar to this. That I don't know what the heck we're gonna turn it into. It's got really pretty stylized animals on it, like deer and foxes and bunnies and our original suggestion was to turn it into, hi, can you not try and knock the coffee out of my hand? That would be great. Zoe, no. The original thought was to turn it into a tablecloth, but I don't know how well flannel will work as a tablecloth. But, hi. Oh, and then I made a blanket. Let me go get a fleece. No. It's not for you. This is the leftover fleece for making a blanket. Which this is a pretty substantial amount of fleece. I could still do something with. It's about a yard. Because we ended up, let's see on the bias. Oh yeah, almost exactly a yard. Maybe a smidge more than a yard. The bias is not the word I was looking for. God, I can't talk today. Yeah, it's really pretty. And on the, I just did a really simple fleece blanket. I don't have, what is it, some scraps. We just did this like light, kind of, oh, you can't even see it, gray tan for the backing. And I used all of that. But this one, when you buy fabric that's fairly, you know, it's not an entire bolt, and you're like, I want 3 yards of this, and there's, you know, or 3.5 yards even. I think we ended up doing like 3.5 yards for the blanket. I want 3.5 yards. There's 4 3/4 yards left on the bolt. They will often give you the remainder on the bolt for remnant price. So usually that's 50% off. Whew. And then the rest of the yardage that you're buying is on whatever sale or whatever coupon or whatever. It's still regular priced or on sale. So even if you're smart and go to Joann's with a 40 or 50% off coupon for one regular priced item, which includes 1 cut of fabric, which applies to 1 cut of fabric. So even if you want to use that coupon, even though they don't chop the remnant off the piece that you're buying, they say they code it in as, you know, 1.5 yards or 1 yard and a bit. Usually they give it to you if it's less than 1 yard, but if they just don't want to make a remnant, it'll be nice to you. And it will be on the little receipt that the cashier plugs into their computer as a separate piece, so that the rest of the yardage you're buying still counts as regular price, so you can still use your coupon, even though you're also getting X amount for 50% off. So that's nice. I'm completely washed out. That is light. Is that better? That's worse. A little better. That's better. Okay. Hi kitty. You have an unerring talent for being on the things that I need to work on. Why are you like this? Why do you do this? is, unlike last time, this is actually genuinely going to be a productivity stream. So, hi. Yes, I'm stirring you up because you're being naughty. You're in my space. No, it is not a time for snuggling. Yes, get stirred up. Go run around. Somewhere else. Cats, man. For why? Okay. Go on. Boot. Okay. Go on. The magical hand behind the camera. Oh, look. A hat. It's kind of too small for my head. We'll go without. Oh, and that's why it fell from the heights of this. Should I go for it? Yeah, we'll try it. Why? Nope. But it didn't knock anything else down either. That's okay. Alright. I don't know why. These things are here. They can bugger off. That was just making more of a mess. I'm so good at this. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Pants. So... yeah. I have one leg completed. It was a bit of an experiment having to do with making a slightly wider leg. It's a little too wide. So basically, we're going to go back to the mark where I started it, and we're just going to re-taper it. Ooh, my phone is starting to get overheated, which is new. It's fun. Anyway, we'll just monitor that. So, just with modifying any pattern from scratch, well, not modifying it from scratch, but from speculation, sometimes your estimates are a little bit off. So, this pant leg, the back of the pant leg is more generously proportioned than the front. So we are going to let that extra stay in. So we're smoothing it all that way. That helps. Okay. So that we're working from the inside of the leg. So my crotch is here. This is the inside of the leg. So I'm going to improvise and just modify. This is what happens when you don't put your tools away. You can't bloody find them later. Okay. So this has just a it's not really a curve. It's just an angle. So basically, what it was like quite narrow. So we're just going to narrow it a little bit more. Again, in line with our fabric. In line with our previous line. Okay, so let's do that. That sounds about right. Honestly, once you understand the basics and that there are no rules, well, once you understand the basics, you can mess with things as you see fit to get them to the appropriate place where you want them to be, basically, as far as fit. And if you're just messing, for instance, with the width of a pant leg, just figure it out. my biggest problem for a long time was, oh, what if I mess it up? And so I was just paralyzed with anxiety. And the answer is, just try it anyway. It's not the end of the world, and it's true. If you want to make, you know, a full Marie Antoinette in thousands of dollars of silk, blah, 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 and you don't know what the heck you're doing, perhaps practice a bit. Perhaps get some really cheap fabric and do all your experimenting and figuring out on that, and not your, you know, thousands of dollars of silk. But nobody should be starting out like that. We're not all Captain Xavier. We can't go from a locker caddy to a full golden age of piracy frock coat. But, true story. I don't know if he's told that one yet. But, it's pretty good. It's pretty bloody classic. Anyway. It's just his whole family, really. And it's kind of the key for everybody, though. It's what people don't realize. You know, they accuse his family of like, oh, well, you don't do anything publicly until you figured it out yourself. It's like, yeah, that's what everybody should do. You should figure out how to do it. And then be like, hey, so I figured out how to do this thing. You want to see this thing I made? I do that all the time. The key to making things is to just do it. But anyway, so I'm going to, I should be taking notes and being like, I started from X and tapered it to the end, with the end being an inch and a bit. But honestly, I'm just gonna see how it looks, and then we will figure it out from there. So, inch and a quarter, no, inch and an eighth. Why are those in sixths? Are those no, those aren't centimeters. God, this is a weird ruler. Okay, ignoring that. Inch and a quarter. I was right anyway. Whatever. Sometimes you get weird rulers that tell you information that you didn't actually need to know. Like, what are these measurements? Well, it doesn't even say. I think they're sixths of an inch. And then it gets down to like thirds and twelfths. So, I don't know. 2/3, 3/3, sixths, twelfths. Because this is 24. I don't know. Ignore me. I get lost on tangents sometimes. That's the problem with ADD. Oh man, up to 2 people at once. How's it going, guys? We are gonna... Yeah, so I did something a little different. Because this is the outside. So here's the pocket. So this is the outside of the leg. I think it can stay. I just don't want to taper it too much again, because then, yeah, we'll just go from there. Okay, this pattern actually does the print. Sorry, those are 2 different things, but people often use them as synonymous. The print, which is the pattern that is printed on the fabric, not the pattern that we are using to make the garment. The print is actually quite helpful in this particular case because it's consistent. so I can see, oh right, it's in line with this fox. Oop. Shut up, phone. Right. So it's in line with this fox. And we're gonna go inch and a quarter. Let's just see what an inch and a quarter looks like on this side as well. So again, we're smooth. I've got this seam already sewn in here, so we're smoothing so that the extra stays in the back panel, but it's just so it's not being taken out unproportionally. But my thought is this will now be too tapered, but we'll see. I think I might be sneaky and go steal a pair of pants, a pair of pajama pants that he already owns, and compare the width. Because it was, when we compared them last night, these were basically 4 inches too wide, in his opinion, but we'll see. Yeah, so my fear is that this is basically going back to the original pattern and it's going to be too narrow. But we'll see. Okay, well, clickety clack, boom goes my chair because it's annoying. Alright, so I don't know why I randomly go in an Australian accent. I do it all the time. Okay. So, we're going to find some pants. And we're also going to find my charging cable because it is buggered off. As it is wont to do. Sorry. Okay. Oh, that's, I was like, what is that weird fuzzy thing? It's a cat. It's a cat butt. They sneak up on you. Okay. The wrapping paper detritus has taken over the world. Once upon a time, yesterday, the phone charger was plugged in to the wall because we have USB outlets. That's cool. Aha! Wait. Yes. Poor sad shredded cable. Okay. Ah, tangled cords. Okay. We have the charging cable. So now I'm going to plug you in and make a brief foray into the dark, dark lands of the bedroom where the slumbering partner resides. So, rather than taking you with me, we're going to have a brief interlude in which you guys are going to stare at this here Christmas tree. Consider this your hold music. Any Christmas tree. I can't get the whole thing in frame. We'll be back shortly. flip around, you stupid thing. There we go. See? Told her I'd be back. Okay. How'd you like it? Was the tree good? It's a problem when you mess with things and you can't find where you had it before. Right. Sure. Oh, look. A cat. Perfect. Right. We're gonna... Yeah, that'll work. Perfect. Okay. Pants. Okay. There's no shame in understanding how fit works by using an existing garment. You're like, oh, I like the way this fits. Let's look how it's shaped. Let's look why this works this way. This even has the same sort of pocket structure. That's cool. And I think it's okay to be a little bit wider than these. Just don't want them excessive. Okay. So now, my line that I've traced, which is 1.5 inches from the edge at the very bottom, we're tapering in, is still a good inch. Around about 1 inch on either side. So, I think that's good. I think I'm going to yeah. Yeah, I think this will work. Sorry, I'm thinking. I think I'm going to go ahead and make this my finished width, maybe? Well, I could do that and then just take in that much more. That's not going to be, that'll be a waste of fabric. Yeah, so I don't want to totally make too many scraps. So this will be my new finished edge, which means this blue line that I've just traced in the fabric is going to be the width once all the seams are done. So it's going to be a little bit wider than these pants, which was the goal anyway, because honestly, this is something that you run into with people, no matter what industry you work in. They claim to want one thing, you present them with that thing. Yeah, see, these are exactly the same width. You present them with the thing that they asked for, and they're like, well, I don't want that. This is what you asked for. You know, especially making things for people. You're like, I made it to your specifications. I made it to your measurements. It's not my fault if it doesn't fit when you gave me the wrong measurements. If you live in Australia and you tell me your measurements are XYZ, and then I send you the thing, and your measurements are not those things, not my fault if it doesn't fit. Alright, so anyway, we're going to sew now. And this is another thing that's been an issue with figuring out my tutorials and videos. Like, it's incredibly weird to try and get an angle on the sewing machine. I basically need a GoPro for my chest in order to get a good angle on it, because otherwise it's here or it's here, and you can't really see what you're doing, and also I can't really sew because I'm like that, crumpled and weird. So Yeah, it's a thing. I don't know. I don't know. That's part of my problemo. But I think maybe if I just get a little more committed to getting up and doing things, including vlogging and stuff, just in general, I think it'll help with my productivity, both putting things on my channel and also getting things done. So, yeah. Okay. So what we're gonna do, actually we're gonna start, okay, so I'm gonna start actually a little bit further down than my original starting point, so that I'm using the line I marked. I'm going to use the line I marked as a guide. Let's see, now I'm plugged in though. Okay, so originally I was going to stitch along this blue line that I've marked. Now, however, because I've decided that's going to be my finished seam, we're going to use it as a guide, so that I've got it set up right now using, there are little grooves in the feet, so I'm going to use that groove, here I'm putting it with my finger now, as my distance marker. So I'm going to start on the seam that already exists, reinforce it, make sure it's happy where it is, and then we're going to move away from this stitching line that's already there and keep following this as a guide. You see it widens out. So basically we're going to take a wedge out of either side of the fabric. So, stupid thing, so slow. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. I think, well, we'll try it. Try bringing the vise down here. I know, I am so good at this. You have no idea, guys. There we go. Like professional. Stay professional. Okay, so the problem is, how do I put it here? We'll see. Here. First things first, we're gonna have to unplug you. See, I could put you there, but then are you backwards? Can you see anything? We'll see. Not 2 tips. Still 2 tipped. Whoop. Right. Crickety crack. Whatever. Let's see if this works. Bobbin. After like that much. Good job, me. Yeah, I sewed about an inch before I ran out of bobbin. Oh, that is just the most annoying thing that always happens. Right, now we're gonna rewind the bobbin. So, far as the date is concerned in Vlogmas. Stop freaking out. Calm down. Well, that's not very good. Bloody West. Why are you being so weird? Fine, if you want to spin, spin. But anyway, alright. So, bobbin is done. I wish that, like on Periscope, I can actually, like, go back and look at the live chat that I missed while I'm looking somewhere else. Because that would be helpful. But of course, that's not the case. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In my personal experience, what people most often struggle with, like, especially like when their bobbin thread, their bottom thread gets all like garbled. They try to stitch and it goes at the bottom. And they're freaking out, and they try to fix it by adjusting their tension and all sorts of stuff. Most of the time, your problem is you haven't threaded your machine properly. And you just have to go back and be like, what the hell? Oh. Often, I find it's this little guy that I have totally forgotten the name of. I think it's the tension arm. Don't quote me on that. This little guy that moves, you can see it coming in and out. Kind of. You can kind of see it moving in and out. There, that guy. He moves up and down in his little chamber. It's usually he has come out of joint, somehow lost the thread. So that's usually the case. Right, so now of course my battery's dying. Because why wouldn't that be the case? Okay. Back to adjusting camera equipment. Well, phone. That's besides the point. Right. So now this guy needs to be plugged in again because it's dying. Again, so professional. Oh my god. Much wow. Okay. So let's vice you back into your spot. Maybe we can get a decent angle from this direction. You can at least see what I'm doing. I don't know if you can see well, but you can see. Alright, so now it's important to grab your threads, because otherwise they get away from you and it's really annoying. Right, so now we're going to do exactly what we did before, but with our new line. Back up a little bit, stitch over it, do a little back stitch, start again. Also, magnetic pincushions are the best. And now, because threads drive me crazy, I'm going to make it all all look neat and tidy and professional again. So what I am going to do, what I eventually want to do is cut this extra off. And, oh, you make me crazy, threads. Is cut this extra bit off, this extra bit that I've just stitched. Cut the seam allowance again so it's more like this guy. So my seam allowance is quite tiny here, so I want to recreate that with this new stitch line. However, because my client lives with me and is currently sleeping, before we chop this off and make it irreversible, we're going to stitch it so it's good enough to try on. And then we're going to repeat it on the other leg, which has not totally been constructed yet. I'm going to repeat it on the other leg and then have him try everything on and see if that's what he would like to continue happening. Zoe, you can't sleep on my current project. I know it's your favorite thing to do, however, don't. I know. It's not like you don't have millions of pieces of fabric to choose from. You do that. Okay. So classically, you would have your seam allowance towards your machine in this little crook of your arm, and all your extra out here because you have space for all your extra fabric. However, sometimes that's not always practical. So helpfully, there are actually measurement guides on both sides of the foot, so you can kind of sew it left-handed, if that makes sense. If you have a piece of fabric that is small enough to kind of be shoved into the crook, you can do that. And then you can just use your guide appropriately. Okay, so where do I need to start? I need to start there-ish. Yeah. Roundabout's the fox butt. Using fox butts as guides. Heck yeah. Okay. However, you gotta make sure everything's feeding properly. Wedge complete. So again, take all your pins out so that you don't go and try it on a human and they get stabbed, because that's just rude. Right. So again, I've got this new wedge. So that the whole pant leg now tapers that much more on either side. So yeah, so that leg is now ready to try on to see how that works. And we're going to recreate it on the other side so that once he tries them on, we know where to adjust on both pant legs. So it's not like, oh, you do one and then you try and recreate it on the other pant leg, but you're like, wait, so what was the first step? How much did I take out the first time? And then I need to take out this much more. Just make everything even. So then, even though you're doing twice the prep work, it's not like 4 times the catch-up work on one leg. And you're gonna have a result with much more consistency. A much more consistent result. How's that? How's that for words? I can English. So how's everybody doing in the chat? We've got a couple of viewers going on live. While I'm finding the rest of my pieces, feel free to hit me up with any questions you got going on. We'll actually watch the screen for a bit. Okay, so there's the back panel. Find the other panel. This bottle over here. Because that's... I don't find that I consciously fling things, but somehow I stop and I look around like, how did that get across the room? When did I do that? I probably fling things and not realizing it. Heck, last night I adjusted my glasses out of reflex, and it usually ends up like that. And I didn't even like consciously remember that I'd done that. Somebody thought I was flipping them off. I was like, what? And they're like, oh, you just adjusted your glasses, but I thought you were flipping me off. I was like, when? Just now. Did I? Are you sure? Alright then. Alrighty, still. Coffee, 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 coffee. So, I have a front panel with a pocket already done. So I guess I can show you the construction of the panel before I continue on. So, the pocket is actually a patch that you add to the inside. So, it's basically the same. I finished this edge. Finished this edge so it's not raw, and also so it's I don't know what the word I was going for is. Cantered? No, that's not right. I don't know. Inset a little bit so that this is where the side seam is going to be, so that it's available for the pocketing of things. So then, this is a rare case, well, not really rare, but this is a case of right side to wrong side of your fabric, so that you don't have, the white on the inside of your pocket. You have the same fabric. So it looks nice and it's all finished. So basically it's kind of inside out. It's kind of backwards from literally every other kind of construction generally. So it's like a patch pocket. So it's just this panel that you're adding, and basically if you do any, most of the time when I'm explaining things to people, I use phrases from other walks of life, or other fields of experience. So a lot of the time I'm talking to people who've done woodworking. So I'm like, oh, so you're gonna make a patch pocket? And they're like, a what? Who? You're quilting this. What? You're laminating two pieces of, if you're laminating wood, it's like this, and then you're gluing. But if you're quilting, taking a couple of layers of fabric and stitching them together. So, analogies like that help a lot of times. So that's basically what's happening here. Again, kind of laminating. So putting a patch on is very similar. So, I originally stitched the inside one first so that it's on, and then this seam allowance is a little wider than normal. It was twice this width. So I tucked it in on itself so that my raw edge is in here, and then I stitched it down. So it's all going to be tidy so that when these get worn, there's no little strings bugging you, and when they get washed, it's not gonna slowly fall to bits. And that's something that I have been doing a lot in my personal fabric and my personal clothing, including my historical stuff that I've been making for me and my partner and close friends. I've been making French seams in my fabric rather than doing other prettier but more time-consuming forms of finishing. So this would kind of be a flat felled seam where you fold it in on itself and then stitch it down again. But that would be in a piece of fabric that you joined, this way. You would then take that, fold it to one side, and stitch it down. Like the inside seam, or the inside of your leg on a pair of jeans is usually a flat felled seam, if that helps you contextualize that. But I'm doing French seams, so like on this other piece of fabric, see? I folded it and put it away tidily. Okay, so normally when you sew something, you would do right side to right side when you stick them together and then stitch them, so that you flip it inside out and you have a nice finished seam like this. If my fabric is white and this is the inside, that's how it would look, right side to right side. But then as you wear the clothing, just this extra bit is just hanging out, and it's stringy. It's the raw edge. It's the unprocessed stuff. It's your seam allowance. So a French seam is basically doing them wrong side to wrong side, so inside out, so stitching it inside out, then flipping it the way you should, so that you've got this nice little finished seam right on the inside. You're going to flip it right side to right side, and then you're going to stitch it again, so that you've folded it in on itself. So for instance, I would, this is a huge example. I would trim this, but you would, basically, you've got all this extra here, I would stitch it a little bit wider than that, so that this whole thing is contained. So you have this, again, this is a huge example. So you would still have this little like seam allowance sort of flap, but it's all clean and finished. A flat felled seam is, you would stitch it like this, and then roll it basically, and then stitch it down, so that you don't have a little flap. It would be stitched down flat. But then that creates quite a thick seam, so it acts a little differently. But it makes it, that's very durable. That's why the inside of jeans, where your thighs or your knees are going to rub against each other as you walk, or against a saddle when you're riding, that's, it's not going to slowly pull that seam apart or rub the stitches off, because they're contained and they're reinforced basically. But flat felled seams take longer and they're more time consuming than just sewing the whole thing inside out. Well, that's hard to say. So inside out from how you're normally supposed to stitch it, and then flipping it all right side out, stitching it again. It's easier and faster in my experience. Okay, so now I guess I'm gonna go back to what I was actually supposed to be doing. So how this pattern wants you to construct it is you are going to stitch the front of the right leg and the back of the right leg together, both the outside of the leg and the inside of the leg, to make a tube. And then you're going to connect the crotches of each pant leg at the end. So you're making a whole leg tube, right leg tube, left leg tube, crotches, and then waistband at the top. So that's what we're going to do. Sorry, this stream is probably less entertaining. I don't know who's currently here compared to previous streams. My last couple of streams, like, this is gonna be a productivity stream. Hi, Luca! Previous streams, I have claimed that, like, this is gonna be a productivity stream. I'm gonna do this thing. And then I sit here and talk for an hour. What is that pattern again? This pattern is Simplicity. It's just says Sarah Jo. Whatever. You guys are gonna know my name anyway. You were gonna ask last night. Oh yeah, because Luca was over. If you guys are watching this and you have not heard of Luca, go to Luca's Corner. He's a very lovely and entertaining fellow. So I don't actually know how this uploads. Is this backwards to you guys? I don't know. But anyway, Simplicity 1326. And this is a unisex pattern, so it's US sizes extra small through extra large. So, it doesn't even do the whole vanity sizing of, like, if you're this measurement, you're a size 8. Because it's unisex, it just goes by chest measurement and hip measurement. Am I doing that upside down? No, okay. Yeah. So, I guess it's a little annoying that they're going chest and hip versus, like, waist and hip, because, you know, they're pants. But, they're technically designed, it says it somewhere. They're supposed to be, like, 2 inches below the waist, or 1.5 inches below the waist. This particular pattern calls for, if you're doing the extra large in 45-inch width fabric, which is the narrower, like, this stuff, a lot of flannels are designed for, like, quilting, so they're narrower, and usually it's about 45. So even if you're doing the extra large, which is a hip measurement of 47 to 49 on 45-inch fabric, it calls for 3 yards. Pants number 1. What? Oh, pants B. Why is B calling for more? Oh. B calls for slightly more. It calls for an extra large, you need 3 3/8 of a yard, because it has self-same fabric patches on the knees. You're going to need 3/8 of a yard extra if you want those knee patches, which I think are a bit silly. Because what kind of hole you gotta be to reinforce your knees? Weird knee patches, indeed, weird knee patches. But, so it really doesn't take that much fabric. It's really easy to do. You can be even more lazy in, like, the waistband than it tells you to do, tells you to be. It's got really good instructions. Yeah, but then, so like everything else, or actually, no, not all patterns do this, but it shows you, so, the fit. So at the very bottom, it's like, here are the actual garment measurements at the end for these sizes. So if you make an extra large because your hip is in that 47, your low hip measurement is in the 47 to 49 inch range, the hip measurement is gonna, of these pants, is 52 at that crotch hip level. So they're gonna be pretty baggy. So even if you have, so for instance, if you have a hip measurement that's 47 and you want them to be more like joggers, a little more snug, then you can see that if your butt is a 46 or a 47, you could even make the large, because the hip measurement is a 48 in the large once it's all said and done. So, if that makes sense. So you can adjust, when you have the, here's what it actually finishes to compared to, this is the size we recommend for your measurements, you can adjust from there. Yeah, it's really nice. Because they don't always give you that. Because, yeah, so I don't know, for instance, if you're like, oh, these are the measurements it tells me to do, however, it's designed to be baggy and I want it to be fitted, but you don't know that, and you make it in the size that it recommends for your measurements, and it's baggy, then you've cut out a bunch of fabric you didn't need to, and now you're just going to have scraps that you're going to chop off. And it's just annoying, and it's more work. So, again, that is Simplicity 1326. And I'm pretty sure it's still at Joann's. Pretty sure I found it the other day. Oops, excuse me. Hiccup burp. And, velour. God, gross. I hate velour. Look for Simplicity trims, of course. But anyway. I don't know how many of you actually know how to read a pattern, but, if you want to do this at home, and you pick up this pattern, you will see that, you pick up the pattern, and then you want to know what the heck you're looking for. It tells you, fabric suggestions. So, if it's a pattern that you need to have stretchy material, it'll say all these things which are stretchy, you know. So cotton types. So this one doesn't have to be stretchy. So it does call for things that are stretchy, like double knit, fleece, interlock, sweatshirt fleece, velour. All those things are knits, and they're going to be stretchy. And, you know, it does warn you, extra fabric is going to be needed to match any plaids, stripes, or one-way design fabrics. So, for instance, if my foxes, if I needed everything to match up, or like my stripes to match up, or what have you, it takes extra length. For instance, I did actually, and it gives you a guide of like, hey, if it's a one-way thing, make sure your legs are oriented the same way, so flip this one upside down, but make sure that the waists are both pointing the same direction as you cut them out. And this is how you need to fold the fabric before you put it down. So that I didn't end up with my foxes all pointing, standing upright on one leg and then upside down on the other. You're going to need a little extra fabric for that. So, I don't know. Anyway. Also, this particular pattern is also in French and Spanish. If you get Burda Burda patterns are going to be in English and German, and sometimes Spanish. I know for sure they're in, because Burda is a German company, so they will be in English and German, which is fine for me because I speak both of those. But or else I read both of those. I can understand and read a lot more German than I can speak, which is fairly common apparently. I don't know. So basically, we're gonna redo what we did before. So, I don't know if, Luca, I don't know if you're still watching this, but if you are, what is it that you normally say to help yourself remember right side versus wrong side? Because I know that you found those terms really confusing, and I wonder if that's fairly common for other people when they're first starting out. Because I think, like, part of it, yeah, right sides together. Oh, right, because you were having a problem with, like, right and left versus correct and incorrect, right? We turn left, right? Yeah, that. So, the right as in the correct side. There's another phrase that I heard. I want to say it's like the fashion side, like the side that is going to be. That's why actually starting with simple prints like this is really good, because it helps you figure out what the heck you're supposed to be doing. Yeah, the outside, or I can't think of the good phrase that was there, or that I heard once, but I think the fashion side is good because it's your fashion fabric. Honestly, garment is a really good word to use. It helps make distinctions. But anyway, so what I'm doing is lining up my seams. This is really, really simple on these pants because they're just straight lines. So I always start at the bottom of the pant leg and the top, and then pull them a little bit taut so that they are where they belong. So you haven't been. And again, there's another phrase. It's more in like math, but basically, if you start out and you're an 1/8 of an inch off, an 1/18 of an inch off, and then you slowly, that increases exponentially, and you get down to here and you're like an inch Michigana. Obviously, that's gonna mess you up. So I like to, find the middle, pin it, find the middle, pin it, find the middle, pin it. And then you can kind of fill in the gaps from there. And that's how you should. It's a good habit to get in, even as you're doing a flat, straight piece. You're pinning a straight seam. Because when you have to do the crazy curved stuff, for instance, the crotch of these pants, because crotches are weird, you're going to want to have practiced how to do that, because that's how you ease fabric, which means making a flat piece of material go around a curve that it doesn't want to do. It's like, no, I'm two-dimensional. I don't do that. No. I'm like, yes, actually, you're becoming a 3D object. Shut up. So you don't get lettucing either. Lettucing. You're talking about like on stretchy fabrics around the hems of things, and it like a little lettuce frill. Is that what you're talking about, Luca? Yes, that. Okay. I don't know that I have ever actually heard it called lettucing before. I might have, but I don't think I have. But it's a good image. It's actually a really good, yeah. Again, that's usually stretchy things or curved things. Oh, okay, yeah. That is our, Luca and I went to school together, the theater, and we were in the same costuming classes for most of our college careers. Oh, so another thing I was taught is, again, with that kind of exponential buggery, is when you're sewing a pair of pants or a skirt, like this has no stretch at all, but it's material, so it might stretch a little bit. If that's going to happen, you want it to happen, especially in a skirt where you're starting with a wedge and going out to the edge of the skirt that's going to be much bigger than the waist. If you're stitching things, all these panels together, you want to consistently stitch them together from the same direction. So for instance, on my pant legs, on a skirt, I'm always going to go from the waist to the hem, to the bottom of the pant leg. Because if there's any weird stretch or weird shifting going on, it's all going to happen at the bottom, so that your waist is nice and consistent, and any extra is all going to be, so you're not like going from waist to hem, and then the next panel is hem to waist, like it's going to make it wobbly, because you can then kind of fix it. If it's all in the same place, you can fix it. But if you suddenly like have all this weird stretch room in this one panel at the waist but nowhere else, it's going to really mess with your fit. So, always stitch everything from waist to hem. Right, so now the boring part. I'm going to stitch this real quick. So again, I'm stitching this like I did the other pant leg for the sake of consistency. So we're doing that teeny tiny 1/4 inch seam allowance, which is on that groove on the foot, pressure foot. My sewing machine feels really far away from me, but that's okay. Beware of quilters' pins with their giant heads. They can totally mess up your seam. Always backstitch. Okay. Again. I have not had lunch yet. Do you want to come hang out and get lunch, Mr. Luca? I can end this stream as soon as I'm done with this pant leg. We could go to Zips. Or something. Alright, so, again, like, you could be tempted. Like I was saying earlier, generally, you want your seam allowance to be, spin you a little bit, toward the arm of your sewing machine, and all your extra out here because it's easier. But if you're going from top to bottom, you are going to have to like sew it left-handed, so that you don't get a weird warp. So the inside of my pant leg, from crotch to hem, is going to be either flipped so I can pay attention to where I'm pinning. So I can either pin it from this side, so all my extra is here, or I can do it left-handed. So I'm going to do it this way. But it's also, honestly, not the end of the world if you pin it one direction and realize, crap, I'm going to have to sew it the other way so that the pins are on the bottom side. If you got decent pins, it's not that big a deal. And you know, if you sew a pin, honestly, if your spacing's weird and your needle hits a pin or breaks your needle, whatever, like I've had that happen when I know where the pins are. It's just weird placement. It happens. It's not the end of the world. You're not going to murder everything. So, right. So, again, start at the bottom and the top, pull it nice and taut, and then line everything up. So you're not trying to stretch things out, you're just trying to make everything lay where it should, so it's not like a big, for instance, I don't want like a fold down here, and I like pretend I've got everything lined up here, and all of a sudden get down here, and I've got, you know, this much fabric to match up with this fabric. And this is possible, and that happens on a curve. You know, if it's supposed to be curved or gathered or what have you, that's fine. That's how easing happens. That's what easing often looks like. You're like, congratulations, this has to go into this area. But we don't want that to happen on a straight line, on a straight seam. So, having a nice surface to work from, and honestly, my very first experience is sewing, or as a little kid with my mom, but my first, like, serious, I'm gonna make this thing experience, was from cosplay and, just conventions in general. It's not quite cosplay when it's, you know, original characters, and steampunk, but, you know, that sort of scene. And if you're a starving college student, starving artist, and you're just working out of a dorm, you have a sewing machine and that's it, the floor is your friend. Try and make any sort of space that you can. If you can get your fabric laid out flat, do it. Give yourself enough space that you can just do that. Honestly, just lay your fabric out. So that you can see what's going on. And another thing, just because it looks like it's good, doesn't mean it actually is. It's hard to see, but see how those are not matched up? You can't just work from the flat. You've got to pay attention and match it up, not only horizontally, but also vertically. It's a very three-dimensional art. You gotta be able to lay it flat because it's a two-dimensional piece of fabric. It's kind of two-dimensional plane you're working on, but then you also have to handle it. Don't be afraid to pick it up and put it at weird angles and figure it out. Right. also. Yeah, we got snow yesterday, so that was cool. Certain people I might mention super hate the snow, but I like it. It's nice. It's just awful when the roads are bad. But anyway, okay. So, do again this little, what did I say, 1/4 inch? 3/8 is the total edge of the thing. Scooch it, yeah, so 2/8, so that's 1/4, yeah, 1/4 inch. Okay, quick 1/4 inch seam. Another thing too, don't feel pressured to go super fast. If you need to, if you feel comfortable, like, okay, this is all lined up, but then you're like, oh, wait, it's getting away from me. You can just stop. Lift your foot up. Stop. Readjust. Go again. That sort of thing. If it's getting away from you, don't let it run off with you like a wild horse. Just stop. Couldn't bloody well see any of that, but that's okay. Right, that's done. And I'm just going to repeat what we did with the other leg, which is go 1.25 inches from the edge of the fabric, 1.25 inches from edge of the fabric, and from, I'm gonna, A, I remember the measurement, but B, I will also adjust for human error by just measuring it from the thing that we've already done to taper it back into the seam. But I'm going to do that off camera, and I'm going to go have lunch because it's been an hour and a half on this stream of wackadoo. So I would say overall, obviously this takes longer if I'm explaining it every step of the way, but I'm actually more productive when I'm being held accountable by the stream. So I don't know. More productive, but stop. Oh, I can scroll through. I'm an idiot. Found it. I don't know how. Okay. Well. Whoop, whoop. Oh, well, I found old comments, but I can't get out of the filters. Anyway, well, I'll work on that. I'll stop. Oop, nope, that's not what I want. How did I do that? Oh, that. Okay, I found it. Okay. Apparently I just have to scroll on the screen. I'm an idiot. Okay. There's the conversation about pancakes. Learning so much about buying fabric. It's crazy. The only way I normally get fabric is by buying clothes and stuff from Goodwill. But my fabric work is usually just D&D minis. So a lot of the jacket really lasts me. Yeah, that's actually a good point. You can get just straight up fabric from Goodwill in their, like, linens section, I guess is what it's called. They'll often, like Goodwill, Value Village, stuff like that, is gonna have a here are some sheets, here are some blankets. I've totally 100% used sheets, even from Ross, like a brand new sheet set. I've purchased from Ross and used it as fabric. So yeah, or you can, there's tons of DIY channels on here that like, I've thrifted this giant dress and this pair of pants and this jacket, and and instead of like wearing them as pants, like turned this dress into a jumpsuit because it's, you know, a huge maternity dress, and she's a size 2, teeny tiny woman, and she made it into a pair of overalls and blah blah blah. Or like I found this skirt and this jacket and I cut them up and made them into a backpack. Like, that's totally legit. And can be totally, it can be way cheaper than buying fabric. Especially like suede. Like, I took this suede skirt that's ugly and never gonna fit me, and I turned it into a pair of gauntlets or whatever. That's totally legit. It's a great way to do it. But anyway, I have digressed. So I'm gonna get off the stream. I'm gonna repeat this, like I said, repeat the steps that we already did. Put it all together, have him try it on, and then I will probably do another video of finishing it all up once the fitting has occurred. But for now, I'm going to sign off. Thank you. This has been Pants, part 1, I guess. Pants part 1. And yeah, I'm gonna go have lunch with my friend. See y'all later. Have a good day. Well, yes, I'm sure I want to end streaming. See, I gotta get better at this, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, goodbye.